Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back. Another episode of Be You podcast, part of Supermom's Magic Circle. And today we have an amazing guest, Tommy from California. She's all about purpose. She's all about helping you identify who you are and what do you want to do with your life. We're going to learn so much from her today. Before we dive in with Tommy, let me say that I have two slots available for you if you want to take your business to the next level. Send me a fire and we can have together a business clarity coaching session for free so we can get to know you better in your business and we can grow together. Now, let me introduce my amazing guest, Tommy. She is a creative coach who works with women struggling to find their purpose. She believes that you have to do it alone, but you cannot do it by yourself. Tammy's coaching style is filled with magic, wonder, and that kind of energy her clients deserve. She listens closely, responds truthfully, and every single session, she will inspire you and she will make you take action. This is Tammy. Let's say hello and welcome.
Hello, Roxanda. Hello to Roxandra's audience. How are you?
Hi, Tammy. I love your energy. I love your website. I love your socials. I love everything about what you do. Finding purpose. Wow, that's big. Tammy, tell me about your journey. Let's start with who Tammy is and how did you start your coaching business?
Oh my God. So, what happened for me was about 30 years ago. I don't know if you're familiar with The Artist's Way. The Artist's Way is my Bible. It's by Julia Cameron. She wrote the book, and it found me about 30 years ago. I got out of college and um, had a degree in painting, and I heard about The Artist's Way. It's a spiritual path for unblocking creativity. And I thought to myself, I wonder if I'm blocked. Let me do this process to see, am I blocked? Where am I blocked? So I did the process. It's 12 weeks. And what came out of it, which surprised me, was my creativity coaching. Because back then, people thought coaching was like sports coaching, not like today where everybody's coaching because it's such a beautiful, healthy model. So that's basically what happened is my coaching came out of doing that process. Because it opens you up to parts of yourself that you don't even know are in there.
Yes, that's phenomenal. And you said this was 30 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah, she wrote the book 30 years ago, and every year she would come out with a new book, and I've just been called to it. I've been drawn to it. I've always been fascinated by people that talk about things getting stronger and they love it even more. And that's exactly what's happened to me with The Artist's Way. She, every year, like I said, would come out with a book. I would do the book. I've taken clients through the book. And it's just so fun to see how people open up to their purpose and what they love because I truly believe if we all do what we love, can you imagine the world that we would live in? We'd get great service, we'd be kinder to each other, we'd be more patient. I'm not saying we wouldn't have problems, we'd probably still have problems, but I think we'd have a few less problems if we all were more in tune and in alignment with ourselves and why we're here and what we're meant to be doing and how we're meant to be serving each other.
Wow, that's so much you said in there. Let's break that into pieces. So, you mentioned about alignment. What alignment means to you?
Oh my God. Alignment to me is the essence of what the artist way is about. It's aligning with that little girl inside of me, the little girl inside of you, the little boy inside of maybe somebody else. And you're aligning with that part of yourself because we get in these taller bodies and we think we've got to be serious and know what we're doing and all of that. But as children, we don't care. We don't know any better. And we just have fun. We play, we dance, we sing, we do all these wonderful things. And if we can bring that child back and live both parts of ourselves, the adult and the child, and that's what I find when I'm coaching people, the more I have them align the two, now you've got wholeness and now you've got power because you're not separated from your soul and from your spirit. So that's what I
Fantastic.
as alignment.
Thank you, Tommy, so much. Thank you. That's fantastic. So, what would you say is the first step for someone? to really get closer, to understand who they were as a child and who they are as an adult now? And how can they get closer to that alignment?
Well, first of all, pay attention to what lights you up. I really believe if you pay attention to what excites you, that's like, I don't know about in England, if you guys played that game, hot, hot, cold, cold, or Find and Sink, I think is the name of it. I don't even know what the name is.
Yes, yes, we do. Yeah, yes.
Right. And you play the game and if somebody's moving towards the goal or what you've hid, you say hot, hot.
Hot.
And if they're moving away, you cold, cold, go around in another direction, turn around. So it's the same thing with our lives. If we just follow what lights us up without questioning it, we don't need to know why it's lighting us up. And the more that you keep following that, the closer you're getting to your goal and getting to what you love and how you're supposed to be serving somebody. And the way that you pay attention to that is just listening to your spirit, listening to your guidance. And because the spirit is always whispering in our ear where to go next, what to say, who to say it to, and what your instructions are, what my instructions are, they're completely different because you have a different path. I have a different path. Everybody that's listening has a different path. But God has a master plan or universe or energy, whatever you want to call it. You don't have to use the word God if that isn't your word, but it has a master plan, and that is orchestrated by all of us being the actors and actresses on the stage of life. And God, universal force, is the director.
Mm.
And I tell you, the more I listen and the more I follow religiously to my guidance, the more my life is just magical and wonderful, and it just flows beautifully.
Absolutely. And I can totally agree with that. That's my experience as well. And I love when you mention about the path. And I can see that you truly believe that each of us, we were born with a gift.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I think each of us has a piece of the puzzle, and we all have a responsibility to bring that piece of the puzzle to the party. And if you don't bring your piece of the puzzle, then we can't make this beautiful piece of art that we're making as a society. That's why it's so important for all of us to harmonize and work together and not work against each other, with the fighting and disagreeing. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be fighting and disagreeing. That's all an important part of life as well, because the contrast is what also creates the wholeness, like the yin and the yang. But I just think the most important thing in the world is our purpose, because when we're happy, we're putting out that kind of a vibration, we're sending that energy to other people, we're filling them up with that kind of energy. But when we're not, we're draining other people, we're draining ourselves. And do we want to add or do we want to subtract from our experience with others?
That's a phenomenal question. Do we want to add or do we want to subtract? It's really, really deep. I love that. What other questions, Tommy, do you use in your coaching business that are aha moments for your clients?
Well, I love to ask people, what brings you alive? What lights you up? What do you love? What would you love to do? And people immediately they know, but then it might be something like they love to sing, but then somebody said to them as a kid, oh, I can't sing. And then they believe that. And think about it. When you're younger, you're just starting out. You might not be great at singing. You might have a natural knack for it, but you're not great at it because you're not practiced at it. But the more you practice, the more masterful you become. So we're comparing, and she says that in the artist's way, you're comparing your early attempts to somebody else's masterful work. And that's what we call artistic abuse, is comparing yourself to somebody that is way more accomplished because they've put in more time and more energy and more effort. So if you can just allow yourself to have your path and allow yourself to grow, then you, and we all know this, with practice, we get better at it. But
Mhm.
people stop themselves, and this is how we get blocked, is you stop yourself saying, I can't sing, or I can't draw, or I can't write, or whatever it is. And that right there just shuts down the creativity. But if you open it back up to, I'm learning how to write, I'm learning how to sing, I'm learning how to draw, now you can start flowing and moving forward and getting better at it.
Yes, absolutely. And this is when I was there as well a few years back when I was saying I'm not good enough, I cannot do that, and all the self-doubt and the criticizing. You mentioned about comparing ourselves.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing you can do to yourself. You wouldn't do that to your best friend or to a family member. So why do we do that to ourselves? What do you
Well,
think?
the reason that we do that to ourselves is because we have an ego and we have a spirit. And there's a reason why we have an ego and we have a spirit. Think about it. If you're driving a car, you want a brake on the car and you also want an accelerator. But what people are doing is they're putting their foot on the brake, they're putting their foot on the gas. What happens when we drive a car with our foot on the brake and the foot on the gas? We don't,
We don't
we
go
don't
anywhere.
you don't go anywhere, you burn it out, something bad happens. But when you lift your foot off the brake and you control the accelerator and go as fast or slow as you want, and we don't want to get rid of our ego. We don't want to get rid of the negative thoughts because we don't want to get rid of the brake on the car. There's an important function for the brake on the car. There's an important function for our ego. But what our job is to manage it with like driving a car. You want to manage when you're putting your foot on the brake and when you're putting your foot on the accelerator. So what I tell people is that with the negative thinking, you can, put it in the back seat. It can come along for the ride. It doesn't get to drive the car. You get to drive the car by deciding what kind of quality thoughts you're going to have, better quality, higher quality thoughts. Because when you put out a thought, you're putting out an expanded vibration because there's two things happening. There's the physical world and there's the energetic world. We have two bodies. We have an energy body, we have a physical, but nobody's talking about the energy, the invisible, as much as we're talking about the physical. We're so focused on the physical because that's the part we can wrap around our arms around and take it to the bank. But the energetic world, we can't wrap our arms around that and take it to the bank because we can't prove it. We can't see it. It's invisible. It's an intangible. But when you're working with both worlds, the invisible and the visible, now again, there we got alignment. And that's when things are working and flowing and working in our favor.
That's magical. I love that example. Can I borrow that so I can use that for future? I love it.
Yes, you can borrow that.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you. And you are right. We don't talk that much about energy, spirituality, the way it should. Because
Yes,
let's face it, people know about that gut feeling. They know about the instinct, right? They know and they feel it. They
yes,
know when something is wrong, you know?
yeah,
And in the same time, we meet people that you feel their energy. It could be evil, or you feel like, I don't really want to be around that person.
yes,
So we know those things, but I don't think we associate them we should and
yes.
integrate them in our life. So, what will be your advice, Tommy? How can we step more into that spirituality and really understand how energy works in our favor?
Well, I believe if a person really loves themselves, they're going to choose more empowering thoughts. When we don't love ourselves, when we're living in our ego and in our constriction and in our fear, you're not going to be choosing empowering thoughts. So it's all about your self love. So, and that's allowing yourself to do things you love, like take vacations or eat good foods or go and have fun, take hikes, go to movies, read, take some downtime. Don't just work until you're drained. Matter of fact, when you feel yourself irritated, that's when you need to take a break and allow yourself that self-love, because you can only love another to the degree you love yourself. If you love yourself 50%, then you only have 50% to give to somebody else. But if I love myself 100%, I've got 100% to give to somebody else. You can have your self-love overflowing. If your self-love is overflowing, now I've got so much, I've got it to give to you. So I believe our that's part of our mission, at least it's what I enjoy to do, is practice self-love. And what do I love to do? Because the more I'm in self-love, the more I feel good, the more I feel expanded, the more I have that to give to you. So if
Fantastic.
more people focused on that.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you, Tommy. Yes. 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 Three times yes. I remember a few years back, Tammy, I was in a very deep depression and I was fighting with an illness for like 4 years. And I had a really, really good therapist. And she told me, you mentioned about God as well, and and the ego and the fear and the negative things. So she really explained it to me in a very simple way, which I remember even if it was like 5 years ago. She said, you cannot have fear and faith in the same time.
Exactly. Exactly.
For me, it was an eye opener. I was like, okay, I've been in this fear for so long. 4 years of depression, it was enough. It took me 4 years. It was my journey.
Right.
And then I was like, this time I'm going to change and I'm going to choose faith. And as
Yes.
soon as I made that shift, my life
Yep.
changed completely. I started my
Yeah.
coaching business. I started with stress management coaching and I started being me again. And all that energy and spirituality that you were talking about, I couldn't believe how much abundance I can get in literally a few seconds. As soon as I made the decision, things started to flow.
Totally. It's instantaneous because you can feel the energy shift. Because what you've done is you move from your ego self to your spirit self. And you said, I was myself again. What's our self? Our spirit. Because we're spiritual beings having a human experience, right? We're in physical bodies, but we're going to drop these physical bodies. And the spirit will live on, it will never die, even when we leave these physical bodies.
And do you think
So
that every spirit, so all of us, we came to this earth with a purpose? Yes, you said that. But do you think we all have the gift of serving others? Do you think that's our purpose in a way?
absolutely. Absolutely. Even if you take a homeless person, think about it. A homeless person is in disguise of a homeless person. They're playing that role for a person, somebody else, like a wealthy person. A wealthy person gets to practice charity by giving money to a homeless person. Look at the service that homeless person is giving to the wealthy person. So we all, and it's not about judging good or bad. It's just playing different roles. And that's what I said. We're all the actors and actresses of our lives.
So, how can we serve more? Let's say not everyone is a coach, not everyone is in a service business necessary on a day-to-day life. How can people start doing that kindness? Because we all feel good when we do something good or when we help someone else. So, what would you say to this?
It can start as simple as opening a door for somebody, um, saying something kind to somebody, giving somebody a smile, giving someone a hug, hugging a tree. It doesn't have to be where it's like coaching and getting paid. It could be that simple. It could be a nurse being kind to a patient, a mother being kind to a child, a wife being kind to her husband. It all starts with you, because when you're in that state of kindness, everything is a state. Wealth is a state, poverty is a state, health is a state, illness is a state. It's all states. And so when you choose your state, I'm going to be in the state of kindness. I'm going to be in the state of meanness. You choose the state. We have so much control over it by controlling what state and what thoughts we're choosing. Because if you choose a thought, then the feeling follows the thought. After the feeling comes the action. After the action comes the result. So it all
Mm,
starts with the thought, and the thought sends out the energy. The feeling that goes behind that thought, like if I think I'm happy, now I've sent out an expanded vibe, a good feeling, that's going to magnetize good things to me. So that's why.
absolutely. Yeah. So that's CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. I remember when I learned that. So you are in control of your thoughts. For me, it was super hard, Tammy. It was so hard to even catch one thought. This was a few years back because my mind was on fire. Like I couldn't do that. But whoever listens, that's one thing you can start doing. Spend
Right,
more time and see what you're thinking about because we
right.
do repeat so many thoughts on a day. So you mentioned about the state. Tammy, what would you say is the best advice for wealth? Because I work with moms in business, and the majority of them, they do want to have happy lives. They want to run a business successfully, but in the same time, to still have time for their families. Some of them, they still have those money blocks. Some of them, they still feel that, oh, I don't want to charge that. I want to do it, just because I love to help. But they need to support their business because if they don't make money in the business, it's just a hobby. So, what would you say? How they can change and think about wealth and money?
Okay, so first and foremost, money is just an energy. Those little pieces of paper with ink on them, whatever country you're in, that is not money. That represents money. Because think about it. If I came with US dollars to England right now and I wanted to pay for my lunch with my US dollars, would I be able to pay?
No.
No. My $100 is worthless in your country. Your euros are worthless in my country. So that's right there. Money is just an energy. We would have to convert it. Okay. So then what you can do is instead of wanting money, every time that we want money, it's always out there. We're always chasing it as opposed to allowing money. Because when you want money, it's like chasing a butterfly. It's always going to elude you, or a bird. It's going to fly away. But if you allow the butterfly to come to you, you allow the money to come to you, to flow to you naturally, allow the energy of money to come to you, then that's when it will increase, it will build. And think about the difference in how that feels. Think of the energetic difference. How does it feel when I want money as opposed to when I say I allow money? Feel the
Mm.
feeling of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how do we allow money
But
to come to us from unknown sources?
so you allow money to come to you by first saying, I allow money to come to me naturally. That's simple. Or more is coming. I just simple, open up an expanded thought. There's the thought again first, right? Once I have that thought, I have a nice calm feeling because I'm trusting in faith. Like you mentioned, I'm not in fear, I'm in faith. I'm allowing money to come to me. And then you go and you take action because you're feeling expanded, and the action will come from your guidance. Whatever God's whispering in your ear, go call that person, go write that, go get on that Zoom call, whatever it is, go wash the house or the car, whatever your guidance is. I don't know what your guidance is. Yours is different than mine. And then go take action on that and you'll get your result. But you've got to keep trusting. We got to keep walking out on faith. And that's another thing that cracks me up. People talk about how uncertain everything is. And I'm thinking, we're dealing with uncertainty every moment of our lives. You and I think we're going to be here after this call is over. We don't know for sure. You and I are taking it for granted that we're going to be on the planet afterwards. But we don't think about that. We just keep moving forward. So we're always walking out of faith, constantly, moment to moment. So why not keep listening for what God is telling us and guiding us to do? Because I don't know about you, but I think they're a little bit wiser and have a bigger and higher perspective than you and I. We can only see so much on this plane. They're seeing it all.
They do. Yes, I agree to that. And you said it in such a beautiful way. Thank you so much, Tommy. I love how practical you are. I love and I can tell how much you work on yourself and how many lives are you changing. Let's talk a bit that. Let's talk about some of the most amazing, powerful stories of your clients that you can share them with us.
Well, one of my favorites is I was working with an aerial artist, and she, in the beginning, was teaching more than she was performing. And so we switched that around where she finally, actually, over the period of our coaching, where she quit doing the teaching and only was doing her performing and started focusing on that. Well, she ended up going all over outside of Canada. She was in Canada, but she came to the United States and she was performing in the United States. So she was living her dream of doing what she loved and what she was on the planet to do. I mean, that just warmed my heart to know that she was doing that, because that's not something everybody can do. I thought, what an incredible gift that God has given you. And we all need to be seeing that because for me, one of my favorite things is seeing somebody do what they do best. It's like magic when you're watching somebody sing, like a Barbara Streisand or Oprah doing what Oprah does, and any performer or any person writing or any athlete. It's like we're all blown out of the water. We could never do that, but God has given them that gift because that's their piece of the puzzle that they bring to the party. That
Yeah, that's beautiful. I have to clap. Well done for you and for your client. That's fantastic. And I can feel how amazing that was for you as well as a coach. That achievement, oh man, amazing. Congratulations, really congratulations. And do you believe, Tammy, that everyone is creative or it's a skill that we have to develop?
Oh, 100%. We're all creative. We are all the artists of our lives. So, I mean, again, we're choosing thoughts. When you're choosing a thought, that's creativity right there because we have myriad of thoughts that you can choose from, good, bad, or indifferent. And you are constantly choosing it. So you're constantly creating your life. And so, yes, 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 we are all creative.
That's fantastic. I love to say, create your life instead of reacting to your life.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Now, I will put all your information. People can see your website as well, but I will put all the details so people can reach you like a click away and they can get in touch with you. If they send you butterflies, just so you know, they are coming from my community. And I'm just so excited for you to start working with them. If anyone wants, please go and reach out to Tommy. Now, before we wrap this up, Tammy, I have a last question for you.
Okay.
What be you means to you, and what will be your final message for the audience?
One of my favorite sayings in the whole world, and I don't know where I heard it, how it came to me, but I always go back to it, is when we're denied our creativity, we turn to our addictions. When we're denied our creativity, we turn to our addictions. Think about that. Creativity is one side of the coin, addiction is the other side of the coin. Which side of the coin am I going to face? And that's why I love that, because I just believe when we focus on our creativity, we're just giving such gifts to the world. And that's what we're here to do, is to share a gift, to share our love, and to be in service and add value.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Tommy, so much. Thank you, everyone who listened to the podcast today. As you could see, Tammy, she's phenomenal. It's worth going and check her out. She spent so much time in the coach's business, and also you can see how much expertise she has and how pure she is. And she's really on a mission to help you find your purpose and really live the life with intention, spirituality as well, and with everything else in between. So this was from today. And remember, send me that fire. If you are ready to grow your business, just send me that fire. Let's go on a chat. Let's see how I can support you. And let's create some magic together. This was all from today. And remember, keep on smiling, keep on shining. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.